Hello there, Ray here. We have a brand new snapshot. This is 19W45A, and we will be reviewing this snapshot, looking at all the new changes that come with it. We got a couple new features as well as probably the most bug fixes I've ever seen in a single snapshot. Quite a few of them, many of which actually change the way the game works as well, so you could see them as being a feature. A lot of them have to do with bees as well, so if you had any problems with bees in the past, hopefully these fixes will help you make your bee farms much more efficient. And guys, remember every Wednesday as well as Friday, we do a snapshot streams where we open up a test server with the viewers and check out the latest snapshot. So make sure to turn on your notifications here on YouTube as well as follow me on Twitter and our Discord to get informed of when those streams go live. I always have a lot of fun with those streams, and it's also a great time to come on and build stuff with me. Now let's get into all the changes with the latest 1.15 snapshot. They changed bees. Now they will search up to 10 blocks away from themselves in all directions to find their nest or hive to call home. Now this is a problem we've seen if you would put like a bunch of bee farms right beside each other. This type of farm works really efficiently, but if you would put like this farm with another one right beside it, bees over here, they would find this hive as their home for one time, but after they came out of it, then they would end up trying to get into the next door neighbor's hive, and they would just sit there all trying to get over here, even though they had a hive right in front of them. And if you're trying to make an efficient bee farm, trying to get the honey or the honeycombs, this is the type of step you want to go for. And underneath of these hives, we have a hopper minecart going back and forth. But you can also put in individual hopper minecarts if the system gets quite large. And this bee farm, as well as all the other bee farms that we built up over the last few weeks, will be in this world if you want to look at them. They changed the recipe for a composter. So before it was slabs on the bottom, and then on the sides it was full blocks. It'd be something like this, where these sides were actually made out of full blocks. That would make a composter. They went ahead and made it the same way that it is in Bedrock, which is a U shape just out of slabs. This makes it easier to craft up because you don't need to have two different types of materials in your inventory to craft them up. And slabs obviously use half as much as a full block. It is cool to see that Java is getting some nice features that come from the Bedrock Edition, but I have heard that people complain that the Bedrock Edition doesn't get very many of the cool features that Java has, so maybe we'll see kind of reverse where they'll get some of our features as well in the future. They change a very unique situation to do with villager trading. If you cure a villager from a villager zombie, it could then sell you bookshelves for 1 emerald each. Then you can turn around, break down these bookshelves, and turn around and sell it a book for 1 emerald. And every bookshelf gives you 3 books, so you can turn 1 emerald into 3 emeralds, and you can keep this up to get unlimited amounts of emeralds. So it looks like the way they fix this is now he will sell you only 1 bookshelf, when before it was 3 bookshelves. They might also have changed the lowest amount that the books can go down to. Currently it's 4, and usually it can go all the way down to 1. But just making some minor tweaks like that, they could easily make this no longer a viable method to get infinite amounts of emeralds. But I would just advise making like the emerald farms I've showed you guys in the past. You'll get way more emeralds, and you can also do it while being AFK. You don't have to do all this clicking with villagers. And they also changed the way that shields patterns now show up. They're now using the alpha channel instead of brightness. So if we go over here in my save toolbar, I have some shields. This shield here is actually a pillager banner that got converted into a shield, then got downgraded into 1.12 and then upgraded back here to 1.15. You can kind of see what it looks like. It is also enchanted. And I have some more shields here, like this shield here is a jack-o'-lantern one from 1.12, but the colors got messed up when updating it to 1.13 and above. And I also have a special armor stand that will convert over into a fully decked out guy. This is Gordy, you can see him right here. And you can see his shield over on the side. It does look a little bit strange, the enchanted part, as his shield is enchanted. It kind of flickers, so maybe they'll have to fix that. The brightness looks fine, but it's a little bit too fast of movement compared to his head, which is also enchanted. You can also see some weird stuff like my swords when I upgrade and downgrade them a whole bunch. Their names get really weird. Now they also went ahead and fixed a lot of bugs. The first one is parrots were still imitating endermen, which they are neutral mobs, so they're not supposed to imitate them. They fixed it so that potions that are held by witches are not floating above their arms. So you've seen last time it was kind of weird. For a second, it looks kind of strange there. Let's see. When his head's turned, I guess it's still kind of hooked up to his mouth. And if his head turns, then it can kind of clip into his body. I really don't know what is the correct answer. I would think if it just be held in his arms and then his head can move around, don't really matter. I think that would look more normal than having it kind of attached to his nose or his mouth. They fixed a bug to do when lighting a campfire above a hive. It was not lighting the campfire, but instead just placing the fire directly onto the hive above. Let's go ahead and try it. Hey, it worked. This is used just to be able to harvest the honey out of this without the bees attacking the player. There was a problem that blazes as well as gas could light campfires, even though the mob griefing was set to false. Mob griefing is kind of where they have it so mobs can't really interact with blocks whatsoever and cause anything to change. So like rabbits wouldn't eat carrots and stuff like that. They fixed a bug to do with choosing the super flat presets. Some of these icons were actually covering up some of the text up above. They fixed a bug to do with the progress bar of the villagers. When you would actually buy stuff from it, it could exceed this bar and actually end up over here. And this has been in the game for quite a while. They fixed a bug to do with dark oak forest no longer producing the birch trees inside of them. And now you can see we got them back in again. They also fixed a game crash exploit. This is something a couple of guys told me about, where you could overwhelm the servers and actually kick everybody off of them. So it's a good thing they went ahead and fixed this before the full release of this version. They fixed a bug to do with entity shadows, and I normally have the shadows turned off, but they're right here, and you can turn that on. And the problem was that the shadows would not allow clouds to render behind them. And that's a lot of things you see to do with rendering. The game has to kind of decide what should be shown in front of what. There was a problem with mob spawners and the little entity that you see inside of it. This little guy here, if you actually press F3 plus B, he's an entity, and he was being rendered too dark, and it looks pretty good now. There was a problem that the entity of falling blocks, so like the sand when it's falling, you see it turns into an entity, was not able to have the glowing effect applied to it properly. There was some inconsistencies with dispensers and them dispensing on armor stand. The actual armor stand was facing the same direction no matter which way it was dropped out of a dispenser. So let's go ahead and just put in this direction and we'll see which way it goes. That one faces this way. Can we get one to face the other way? Let's try this way. Yeah, you can clearly see this guy's arms are not the same as this guy. There was a problem to do with bees no longer taking pollen from too tall flowers, and they went ahead and fixed this. So in the past snapshot, they actually tried to fix a problem to do with the different advancements sometimes clipping off the edge of the page, and they got really close to it, but as you guys seen in that snapshot review I showed you, it was actually possible to see part of it way up at the top of the screen, but I'm not seeing that anymore. It looks like they may have completely fixed it. That's good. They fixed another problem to do with the braking animation. Depending on which side you're braking stuff, it would sometimes be flipped, and to me it looks like the brake animation in grass might have changed. That green texture, I really don't remember it being those little green little lines with the brake animation. There was a texture that was inside of the lava that was flickering that they fixed. They fixed a shading problem to do with the Ender Dragon's wings as well as legs. One side was actually darker than the other. They fixed a bug to do with Z fighting when a entity was being rid. The shadows were actually Z fighting, so you kind of see there's two shadows underneath of us, the horse as well as mine. And Z fighting is when the game can't decide which one should show up on top. There was a problem to do with signs and their editing here, and the GUI was too dark. They fixed another problem to do with rendering when blocks were on armor stands. Their shadows were based on the camera's vector. They fixed another problem to do with shadows and rendering, and this was the shadow was rendering in front of the block hitbox, which is a little black line that when you're pointing at a block, it shows you which block you're actually pointing at. And you can see it's easy to see the block line as well as my shadow. They fixed a bug to do with the world border rendering in front of all non-transparent blocks. And this was pretty obvious in that video that we showed you guys to do with the world border, but yeah, when you come down here and stuff, you can actually look from the bottom of the world and you can see the entire world border through all these blocks. And this is like a similar problem we've seen to do with like the F3 plus G command, which shows the chunks. If you go up here, it was possible to see this through the entire world, but they went ahead and fixed this as well, which is really nice because it used to really hurt your eyes looking at these things. They had problems with placing banners, creating an error, and now when it looks like the banners are placed, I don't see them doing that flickering, where in the past, once they were placed, they would show up as white for a brief moment and then convert over to the proper color. They fixed a problem to do with beacons. The beacon beam lighting depended on the viewing angle. There was a problem to do with the character skins of players showing up as too dark. And yeah, look at them. They're quite bright now, so it's easy to see. And that's what's happening in the inventory. They fixed a problem to do with bees, flower tracking, and pollination AI was broken. So hopefully we see that some bees are more capable of going to the flower and getting back to their nest. The barrier block particles was actually changing to something random if you change your resource pack. And if you guys didn't know, the barrier block is actually only being shown through particles. And this is how it's capable of being removed, of no longer showing up when you switch to a different block. So now it vanishes, and now it'll show up once again. Bees weren't having the animation while they were pollinating flowers. They've now fixed this. There was a problem to do with kelp, and when it was naturally generated into the game, like these guys out here in the ocean, their age was too low. So the age is the thing that you can see in the top right hand corner. It's right up here where it says age 3. And the age determines how high the kelp will grow. This is causing the natural kelp fields out here to automatically be able to reach the surface and grow this tall, making the ocean look very flat and not very interesting to see compared to if the kelp would kind of stop at different heights. They fixed the problem to do with iron golems, and when they hold their poppies out, they weren't holding it at the right angle. They fixed another problem to do with editing signs. This little cursor here that shows you where you're at was not showing up. They fixed a bug to do with the hitboxes of blocks showing up as transparent. You guys remember some of the last snapshots I showed you? When you look at this, it would show up with a little line here that was kind of weird. You could kind of see through it. And they went ahead and fixed this. So now there is a black line around this. Kind of hard to see because it's black on black. But when you open and close this, you can see the line over here. It fixed the problem with the beacon's beam losing its color at high altitudes. There was a problem to do with bees pathfinding not working when they're underneath water. And yeah, we've seen this in some of the past snapshot videos. It's pretty funny. They get super confused, and that has now been fixed. The player's model in the inventory was actually affected by light levels around it. The glitter effect from a trident was actually being lost when it was being thrown into the ground. So we can see it's still glittering even though it's stuck in the ground. There was a funny glitch to do with pillagers when they didn't have any bow or weapon in their hand. Their arms actually completely vanished. This is something a couple of you guys did during the snapshot streams. It was, yeah, just like a little guy with no arms. It's pretty funny. The breaking animation was actually more transparent when breaking stuff like ice as well as glass. Go ahead and try it. Yeah, it looks much better now. There's also a problem that the break animation was rendering behind nether portals or water. You can see it's now looking good. You can see it clearly in front of this water. But there was a strange rendering bug that I seen to do with water as well as nether portals. If you have a player's tag above their head, was able to not render the water, so you can see right through the water with it. When having the night vision effect, there was a problem that stuff in your inventory was actually showing up darker. There was a problem that when pulling up the F3 screen, it wasn't showing up the proper graphics card that were being used. They fixed a bug to do with beehives as well as nests breaking off as item when you have the game rule tile drops false. Tile drops just means stuff like blocks when they're broken shouldn't drop their block form. There's a problem with endermen, they wouldn't turn their face when you look at them. Now a fox can pick up as well as consume a lot of different types of food, but they were actually not doing this and they fixed that bug. They fixed a bug to do with bees leaving their nest or hive when it's being sheared or used to fill bottles up, even though there was a campfire underneath of it as well it was night out. Bees go to their hives when it's night as well as the campfire should have kept bees from attacking. There was a problem that the breaking animation for the player was not showing up for other players. And we have seen this stuff happen in the past where sometimes you're doing something and you're on a multiplayer server, other people can't see you doing it. They fixed another bee problem, which was the bees were actually going too far away from their nest and getting lost. That's not good. They also fixed another problem to do with bees, which is that they're trying to claim hives that are behind walls and actually have a test right over here. And up here I have two different beehives, and sometimes the bees in this column here would try to go into that hive over there. This is a pretty major problem, especially if you're trying to tile these farms right beside each other. But with this new fix, we shouldn't have any problem putting farms like this back to good use. There's also a problem that bees were getting stuck on coca beans. They weren't able to pathfind around them. They fixed a bug to do with the new Yiddish language, which is added. When converted over, words were spelled left to right, even though in this language stuff is spelled right to left. They fixed a bug to do with bees trying to fly back to their original hive. And anytime a mob tries to pathfind someone really far, it can cause a lot of lag issues, as we've seen occur with the pillagers trying to pathfind to different villages way off in the distance when they're trying to do the raid. Fixed a bug to do with the player's death using incorrect sound event. Now, I just killed myself a couple times during the snapshot testing, and the kill command here sounds a little bit wrong. Right there, you can hear It sounded like it was played twice. They also fixed the problems to do with bees occasionally getting stuck on fences, walls, and stuff like that. They fixed another major bug that we've seen to do with bees is that they would not update their home hive even though there was empty hives nearby. This is a problem that we've seen in the past when there was a bunch of bees and they all kind of like wait for like one house to open up and try to go into that one even though the other ones were empty. So all these bug fixes to do with bees should really improve our bee farms we got here. They also fix it so that bees that have no AI no longer get angry. They also fix a problem to do with bees not following players that are holding tall flowers. They also fix a problem to do with bees just freezing when they're not executing their current AI task. So if bees didn't know what to do, they wouldn't really just wander around, they just kind of sit there and wait until there's something to do. They fix a bug to do with Enderman not picking up non-collidable blocks, so something like a flower they wouldn't pick up. And earlier you guys seen that Endermen were picking up flowers. They fixed a bug to do with mob spawning rates in the overworld being reduced. It had to do with render distance as well as single player, and mobs getting held up in chunks and unable to allow other mobs to spawn in. They fixed a bug to do with iron golems occasionally attacking players in spectator mode or creative. This is something we've seen in the past with other mobs as well, that when you switch into like creative or spectator, the mob will still try to attack you. When getting the taking aim advancement, it was not counting if you're using a tipped arrow, which is the arrows that have the different potion effects. So they now fixed this, so you can use these to get the advancement as well. They fixed a bug to do with the player being able to hit the dragon during its death animation. They fixed a problem to do with chunk block leg. After growing a large spruce, essentially every time you would break something in the area, it would then create a large leg spike. We did see this during our testing, which made it really bad to do with frames when you're like placing blocks. Everything would just go down to shuddering. But from our testing, it seemed to do with vines and having blocks placed up in the air. And we haven't really ran across it for a little while. They fixed a bug to do with biome blending, creating a massive amount of lag. Especially when you're loading chunks or breaking and placing blocks. And overall, you ever notice like the game loading and chunks loading, it's pretty slow compared to like versions like 1.12. So hopefully we see some improvements. Block blending is where when you move across different biomes, different blocks blend together. So it's not an abrupt change in colors from like plains over into like a swamp biome. They fixed a bug to do with terrible performance when a large forest fire were to occur. I also noticed that when the leaves break, it sounds like wool breaking, which is kind of funny. They also fixed a bug to do with extreme lag occurring when leaves were decaying. They fixed the looks of the wolves when they are sitting on their rear legs. They're actually displaying the legs were hovering. So now it looks good. Looks like they're exactly leveled with the ground. They changed endstone bricks because there was a problem that though these were bricks made of endstone, they were quite a bit weaker than the endstone, and the dragon was also able to destroy them. So now the dragon should be able to destroy all these different types of endstone blocks in the game. This is kind of nice because now we have more blocks to work with when making stuff like my automatic dragon killer, which was really difficult because I had to use a lot of blocks. The dragon wouldn't break and I was kind of limited to endstone as well as iron bars. Now we also got the stairs and the slab and even the walls. We got a lot more formations to work to hold the player in correctly. But it looked like the dragon actually broke them, so maybe they just changed the blast resistance of them. Kind of strange that they say that the bug is fixed when, yeah, it's pretty clear that the dragon broke it. The other strange thing is that the dragon is able to break its own egg, which is kind of odd that like the dragon goes to sit on its egg and it just destroys it. When the dragon destroys stuff, it doesn't drop it as an item form, it just completely vanishes from the game. So let's see if it's actually more durable. You used to be able to mine it very quickly. This is a efficiency 5 pick, and yeah, it's pretty much the same speed as endstone now. Used to be able you could just tear the stuff down very quickly, but it looks like you're left with the same speed. And let's check blast resistance wise. We'll just summon a TNT, and yeah, it looks pretty blast resistance. We'll summon one over here to kind of give a reference. Both of them are kind of only destroyed about one block down. So it seems very similar to endstone, but dragons can still break it. They also changed withers. In the past, the withers were able to be harmed by their own skulls. So if you had a whole bunch of withers and they're hitting each other, they could actually kill each other. And I used this mechanic of withers being able to hurt themselves with their own skulls to make like a self-damaging wither system in some of my obsidian farms in the past. They now have went ahead and removed this. They fixed a problem to do with cured zombie villagers not dropping items that they had picked up. Of course, that's not a good thing because then you could lose your armor if one picked it up and they got converted over. Now, something that Manrock showed me is that husk when they are converted. So if they sink in the water and they are converted over, they don't actually convert straight over into a drown, but instead they convert over into a zombie. And then the zombie will convert over into a drown. So we'll see that in a little bit. Also, villager zombies don't convert over into drowns, but they do sink. You can see them right here, sunken to the very bottom of the world. And here the zombie is now converting over into a drown. So they went from a husk to a zombie and then over into a drown. It's kind of a funny conversion, but that is the way it looks like it works. Something that might change, it might even be a bug, but yeah, I can see it's a drown. So you can actually convert husk over into zombies. This snapshot came with a lot of bug fixes. This might be the most bug fixes I've ever seen in a single snapshot, which is pretty crazy, but it's also really good knowing that they are fixing a lot of them. So we won't have to see them when the full release comes out. And it looks like they are trying to add a couple new features with each of these bug fixes, even though they're really packed in with mostly bug fixes. Overall, I'm really glad that they are knocking a bunch of these bugs out of the game, especially ones that do with the lag and anything that makes the game slower, and anything that would just deter people from playing the latest versions. I am really excited to see how well our bee farms work once again, now that they fix a bunch of different problems to do with bees and their pathfinding and finding hives and stuff like that. And make sure to go ahead and share this video with others so they know what's going on with the latest 1.15 snapshot. And if you guys did enjoy this review, be sure to go ahead and leave a like on the video. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and bye-bye!